Okay, I'll call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Before we get into anything, I just want to express some condolences on behalf of the town to Kelly Collins. She lost her son last week. Kelly does a lot for the town here and at the school. She's quite selfless, and anything we can do to support her during this time, I think would be very, very appreciated. Any changes or additions to the agenda? We got the Dereshi garage fire invoice.
Yeah,
We're going to talk about under other business.
Yep.
Anything else? Okay, public comment. Linda, you can go now if you want.
Okay,
Okay?
do I have to stand up?
Nope.
No, okay, good. Well, my concern is because of Lawson Ridge and Maple Ridge and the combined, and how the road proceeds or turns up to Maple Ridge, and people coming down Maple Ridge is actually coming onto a different road, which is Lawson Ridge. And I've had 2 close calls in 1 week, and I says, okay, there's been others, but I was very concerned, and I said, okay, that's it. I'm gonna at least speak out, and I'm hoping that we can get maybe a yield sign up onto that road on the Maple Ridge side, because they are coming they're crossing the lane.
Making a left turn to move.
Yeah, they're making a left turn to boot, and so I've gotten to two close calls in 1 week. There, people are not coming down that road and yielding. They really are not.
Okay, so I'll have to request that we move this to,
Other business.
no, number. We can just put it under number 5 road policy,
Oh, okay.
because I can't answer you in public comment.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Okay.
fine, but that's why we're
Yeah.
here.
So actually, I Googled that today, and technically you are right from the perspective of the traffic that is coming down the hill. There are 5 right-of-way rules when entering an uncontrolled intersection. A vehicle that arrived first has the right-of-way. If 2 or more vehicles arrive at roughly the same time, drivers on the left must yield to drivers on the right. If you are turning left, yield to oncoming traffic, even if you arrive first. So to me, that states if you're going up the hill toward your place,
Yeah,
you would have to yield to traffic coming down.
but that is the Lawson Ridge.
Correct.
Yeah, because,
Except
you
it's a
know,
corner.
there was a time, the leaves are on the trees now, and the way that the vehicle, the truck that was coming down the hill was in a position that I didn't see because of the leaves on David's tree, and then all of a sudden it was there. So between everything, that's a very congested and troublesome,
So
corner.
according to this, and this is just basically what they're saying, so like if the traffic is coming down the hill, it actually is supposed to yield to you coming out of it. And then if you're going up the hill, traffic to the right would have to yield to traffic coming down if they want to make a left. To me, as a road commissioner, I guess my theory is the simple solution to the problem would be to put a yield sign on the end of your road. Because the most traffic actually, even though it's a different road, the most traffic does travel to the right. You have 17 houses that way and you have 4 down your way. That's just my personal thought.
Yeah, well, it is the Lawson Ridge. That's the thing.
Well, it's the corner. Which, looking at the map, I don't, and that is how it's turned. I don't understand why I would have gone Maple Ridge all the way down, but that's too, can't do anything about that now. But
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Okay.
perfect time to be here.
I'm familiar with that area, because I'm a former driver and teacher. And I think what David's saying is that you're on the road, when you go up the hill, you turn to the right like both ways.
The left.
I
left.
turn to the left.
Turn to the left. I think you got the right idea, put the yield sign on that road, because people coming down that hill should have the right of way. And you're more or less on a straight. So you can stop a lot easier than somebody coming around that corner like Dave. I think that makes a lot of sense.
But would that set to still be that way if the corner wasn't routed and it come to a square T intersection?
But it doesn't.
It
It
doesn't.
doesn't, no, it doesn't. It's not.
You're going by the state guidelines right there, right?
But I
It's
think-
just something.
National.
And actually, David had mentioned in Belgium, they
I
have a
think
lot
that
of
would be a
that.
good solution, having
Very
your sign,
cool.
because
No.
coming around the corner, they may not see this.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
think
talking
Jarvis
about it.
is still, they still live there.
That's such.
Yeah,
That's a blind
Make the
spot.
decision.
Well, no, that isn't a blind
Well,
spot.
not that area.
That
No,
is,
it's not,
and-
because you need to learn.
And Goslin's had people coming
Yield.
and land
You
in
can
their
put one.
tree right there
You
because
could
they're
yield on
not
both ways, but that wouldn't be
yielding
as
or know
effective,
that
right?
there's
You'd build
a
just
corner
one.
there.
No,
That's
There's
coming,
people that are going up to that Maple
Four
Ridge
houses versus
that come
17.
around that corner so fast.
That's a problem too.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying the yield sign should be over there, so at least it makes them, or some sort of, maybe not a yield sign, but a caution or something like that.
One of
Or,
those sharp corners.
or corner or something, or I don't know, but you can talk to Skip and Val. They've had accidents on their tree and there's damage to their tree because somebody came down the road too fast and didn't realize there was a curve there.
I'd like to ask you another question. As you're coming, if you're coming down by, before Coastline, does that turn there? And you want to put the yield sign before Coastline? Is that what you're trying to say?
Hey, we really should
Yeah.
move the discussion.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if we're gonna keep discussing it, we can't, because we can't answer anybody in a public comment, so.
So we'll bring it up
Dave started,
again
Dave started answering, it was moved, but we have to keep moving through
in
the
a few
agenda.
minutes.
So we'll move on actually to Richard Lucier at number 4. For the,
Unless nobody else has any public comment.
right, Gary, Pradeep, you guys.
Do we roll call?
Oh, we
We
did
should have
not.
done a roll call for the camera.
Yeah.
Let's do it right now.
Go ahead.
Scott Breyer, select board.
Dave Gallup, select board.
Phil Marquette, select board.
Matt Maxwell, Town Administrator.
Richard Lucia, citizen.
Ernie Manning, planning commission and school record.
Carrie Keeman, resident.
Linda Goslin, resident.
Brian Martin, resident.
All those out there in cyber world,
David Barlow in his desktop, treasurer. Over.
okay, now, Richard Lucier, Community Center display.
I'm back to revisit a thing you've done and approved quite a few years ago. And nothing has been done, not to your fault, but it's time to get something done. And I was talking to Matt about it, and I've come up with some possible idea what to do. Down by the little gray house here, what it for, it used to be for sewer at one time. I thought maybe we could put like an information sign up there, make it in the shape of a community center. And then put the information about the Coventry, which Judy, myself and Jackie did, and update it, because a lot of nice things have happened. We've got nice new bathrooms, handicap bathroom, we've got a beautiful kitchen, we've got an elevator, you got beautiful stairs, so we could update that and put that outside. So when people come to visit, people do come to visit, might know what it's all about. We could do something like that very inexpensively, and I think it still could look real nice. As long as we put it by the gray house, it'll be off, won't be in the way of anything, but it'll be accessible to people that can walk over. And I've got to find out how we can make it accessible so that people in wheelchairs can read it too. So that's one thought I have. I wouldn't, you suggested one time put the plaque out there, Jeff Johnson. I don't think I'd do that. I think we could take a picture of it and put it up there and then keep the plaque in the building where it's safe. Okay, my second thought is, as you come up the stairs here, on the right-hand side, there's a big opening. I'd like to see that dedicated to the history of the Coventry Community Center. Plus, move over all put the plaque there and the other stuff that's on the wall, make that a dedicated area for the history of the community center. Because, we've lost a lot of people that, put a lot of time and effort, and the school board's doing a heck of a job keeping this place up. It's absolutely beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So I talked to Matt, and he said he's more than willing to work with me to try to get that done. It wouldn't take long. The biggest part is to find somebody to build that information thing, which is only about 3 feet wide, but
We
it's
have one.
critical.
We have that big one.
We have
put
one.
somewhere.
No.
Yeah,
Put
maybe-
that thing up.
Maybe
Over
make sure
here
we-
though, maybe over here.
It's 9 feet wide.
Well, we don't need that one. You only need just for a couple sheets of paper, that's all it's gonna be.
So you kind of went a couple different places. You were talking about out there and then you came back in here.
Right, we got in 2 different places. You have the general one out there, then inside you have it more specific, dedicated it to Jackie, as we did in the town report several years ago. And also at the same time, there's other stuff that belong to the community center should be brought over that part of the history. There's a plaque, thanking the people that donated the land. There are plaques, not plaques, but frames with names that are donated to communities. Be all in one place that way. At the bottom of the stairs is a very good place for that because of the opening there. That's just a thought. But it could be handled very easily and finally get it done. I think it's been 3 or 4 years we've been working on this.
Why don't you work with Matt and
Yeah.
maybe you guys could come up with some ideas, and when you got something that's pretty solid, we could review it and.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, can I just make another comment?
Sure.
The restrooms are wonderful, they're handicapped accessible. There's one issue in there for me is the paper towel dispenser. Dispenser is not the problem. The paper's put in wrong. Because I was up at Lowell doing a jam, and I went in and had exactly the same paper dispenser, and I pulled it down, and one sheet followed the other. So
I
that's,
think it's upside down.
yeah, I think it has to be
Upside down.
changed. If it's changed, I think it'd be perfectly all right. Otherwise, I was ready, you need something better. Now you gotta reach up in there and pull it out, you get your fingers caught. But I think just, because it works much better if it's put in right. There is a right way and a wrong way, I guess. So that should be taken care of soon, I would say.
Yep.
I think that Mr. Maxwell's here most of the time. He might be able to handle that. I got one other thing. This is off the wall, but it goes with the history of the community center again. I was thinking downstairs where the present town clerk's office is, you see in different buildings, they dedicate rooms to different people. And I just said, well, it's part of the history, the town clerk's office could be dedicated in the memory of Thelma Wilcox and Lois Hodgson. Thelma was the town clerk for many, many years. Lois Hodgson was the town treasurer for many, many, many years, and they shared that office. The other office where Matt is now, I think that could be dedicated to the select board, past and present. The kitchen, Virginia Taylor. I mean, this lady, she was the kitchen as far as you're concerned. Now, this room here was the Riley E. Wright Library. And the person behind that was Barb Young. I'd like to maybe have her recognized for the Riley Wright Library, and here maybe have a plaque, not a plaque, but you got, I think you still have to sign it, says Riley Wright Library somewhere. I don't know how you had that. If you don't, maybe put something up
Probably
here.
in the closet.
I think it is. I think you have it, maybe
think so.
put that up with a little history of this room. People that don't know Coventry, many years ago, don't understand the history. I'd hate to see that lost. I really would. Because the people are moving in, the young people, which you're young compared to some of us. I think it's important for them to know what this building's all about. And again, I take my hat off to the select board over the years that you can't get any better building than this. You guys have done a terrific job, but I think we could make it a little bit better.
You're a little long-winded. Can I hit you with a pop
Well-
quiz before you go?
Well, I rested. I rested today, being old. is hard.
Can I hit you with a quick pop quiz
Sure,
before you go?
yeah, go ahead.
Who came up with the original idea for Coventry Community Center?
Your mother.
Incorrect.
No, she did. Who did?
Bob Nearmore called my mother one night, mad her in heck, because the town was gonna pave a road. And he said, what are you doing paving a road when you don't even have a place for the boys to play ball?
You're right, Dave, but your mother was the one that spearheaded the project to get it done. He may have an idea, but she's the person that got this whole thing going. with a lot of other people.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll meet with Matt and we'll come up with a plan. And then hopefully before snow falls, we can get it in.
Okay,
Okay,
we appreciate it, Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Lucier.
Anytime.
All right. Number 5, road policy discussion. So we can discuss the, what we talked about with Maple and Lawson Ridge, and also at the behest of the road commissioner, I've typed up a draft road policy for the town. It's in you guys' packet. Feel free to make edits and get back to me on that. Or you can, or we can change everything.
So I'm not gonna pretend to read this tonight.
No.
I've put no time into it, but I think you went to the town of Georgia, I believe.
I did, yep.
Yeah. And there's probably a lot of good recommendations in here, but I think we really better make sure we know what we're doing before we sign a policy.
Mhm.
Especially as it pertains to taking on roads as we're transitioning now toward more pavement. And we're gonna, well, that transition is real and it's time consuming in the winter, so we should really think about things, but this is a good template to start from.
Okay, so we'll review this and we'll
Keep reviewing it.
discuss it next meeting a little and discuss it at the next meeting and maybe come up with a final draft. Okay,
Number 6.
no,
Oh, sorry, Linda. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we really didn't resolve that.
No,
I
no, we
really didn't
didn't.
understand what you were talking about or explaining it. Maybe you can come up and show me what, and we'll look it up. But where did you find that?
I just Googled it. What did I Google?
Even.
I just Googled right of way on unmarked intersections.
Okay, we'll look it up
Yeah,
and we'll,
But we're trying to make this a marked intersection, so there's no confusion about anybody.
so I think maybe the consensus just in listening was if we're gonna make it a marked section, we would probably do a yield sign at the end of your road coming into the approach.
So coming out of our driveway to make the right to go down,
You
we
would-
would yield.
Yeah,
we would have to be. And what about the other side as far as caution, that intersection or something to that effect?
I
Or a
could,
sign saying that.
I could just put up a simple intersection sign like that.
Some, like if you've ever been on Nelson Hill Road, they've got some of them curves that say, 5 miles, 10 miles, 15 miles an
Yeah.
hour. Something like that for that
Because
corner.
they come down that way,
Yeah,
and even if we yield, sometimes, or coming around that corner, I'm making a turn on Lawson Ridge to Lawson Ridge. And they're coming down the hill.
Problem is that's not
And
an
if I've
exact
got
T,
the
right?
boat or the camper.
That's not an
Yeah.
exact T,
No.
right?
is it a
We
place
have-
that you could put a stop sign coming down the hill or would be not? That'd be bad.
I don't think we want that.
We have boats, we have campers, and by the time we
Yeah.
get that other, and they come flying down,
I'll look into some signage for you and,
and please don't do anything until you talk to us,
all right,
please.
but I think the consensus was a yield sign.
Mhm.
And then I can find, I can also actually, as I was just stating, you can actually just get them, they're on a curve and it'll show,
That's road off to the side.
yeah, it'd be basically like this.
It's a screwy way to, the road is a screwy little road, yeah.
Well, that's the thing, it's not built as a
It's
T.
defined. It's not
a-
defined at all, because it looks like everybody's going
This,
up there.
so
Yes,
this
there's
here
more
should have
houses
stayed
up there,
Lawson Ridge and it
but
should have been
the
a
road
branch road,
itself,
Probably.
right?
and-
Or it should have been Maple Ridge with a T,
Or whatever, right?
Maple Ridge straight across, and Lawson Ridge comes up to the T and it's left to right.
Yeah,
So I'll get it marked up for dig safe and I'll come see you.
Okay,
So
not
good.
this week because.
Perfect.
We're gonna go out on, we're being Lake Ontario tomorrow.
oh, good,
Right.
enjoy.
And I'm not around anymore anyways. I spend most of my time on White River working.
Yeah,
And that,
until October, and then he's back.
Okay.
All right, so we're done.
You're done.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome to
Thank you.
stay.
Oh, well,
We gotta get back.
I've got
Certainly-
stuff to do.
Certainly don't blame you for leaving though. Thanks for coming in.
All right, well, thank you for listening to us
Thank you.
and our concerns.
thank you.
All right, next up, we have an ARPA funds update. This was tabled from last meeting. We've got some ARPA funds and we have to decide what to do with them. David Barlow, what, let's say something?
Present. So I put together an ARPA advisory committee proposal based on the template from VLCT. We had talked a couple meetings back with Dom when he had he wanted to make a request on behalf of the fire district. And he pointed out that VLCT had a template. Okay, they do. And I used that, put together a proposal for an ARPA advisory committee, but it really depends on what the board wants to do with this whole thing. If you want an ARPA advisory committee to advise you on how to spend the funds, or you don't want one. You know, it's kind of up to you. The advisory committee, as I'm proposing it, follows the VLCT guidelines quite closely. I'm proposing to have 4 people on it: the town administrator, the town treasurer, member of the planning commission, and a member from the general public who must be a registered voter in the town. And we would advertise and in a public meeting hear proposals to use the ARPA money, and then come back to the select board and present that to you by priority, our version of priority, and then you would decide what to do with it. Use it, chuck it, change it, whatever. But it's a way to to give the public a bite of the apple, basically, to give the chance for them to have input.
I like that idea.
I don't. I thought like a month ago, Dave, we already made a decision to throw that money into the general fund.
Yeah, but you still have the ability to use that for
Yeah.
projects, and that's the thought of. I
Yeah.
don't see it just in general fund to be used for whatever. I'd rather see it being used for project.
So I guess my thought on that is this, the select board over the years done a great job of getting money out to the community. And they really should be applauded for that. We have no town tax that allows us freedom in budgeting here at the school. They don't have the same pressures other communities have. We have funding through the town foundation. The planning commission currently has the sidewalk project. We had devoted 75 or $100,000 to that in 2020. The only place I see a financial need in the community, and this is just my view, is probably the fire district.
Well, I'd also like to advocate for the NEK Communications Union District, or CUD is it called, that's going to bring fiber optic internet service to much of the town. They've got a proposal about using ARPA money on the table as well.
So you have discussed that with me privately, Dave, and I'm not in a bad way against the Derby Select Board. I see them promoted how much money? Was it 75 or 150,000 to them to CUD?
I'm not certain what Derby did. The CUD offer basically is 3 for 1. We kick in $1, they'll kick in 3, and they'll make some sort of commitment to do some internet stand up in Coventry faster than would ordinarily happen, based on the amount of money we shovel their way.
And therein lies my problem morally. We have the financial ability to do that, as does Derby. Was CUD designed just to take care of the rich people in the Northeast Kingdom? What about the people in Albany that have 100% free lunch program telling me there's extreme poverty there? They're not spending any money there. Are they getting in there?
Mm-hmm.
They're actually covering the worst served areas first, primarily. So that's why we're not going to see it for a while necessarily. But they are going to bring a backbone through Coventry, and that's the opportunity to serve some of our underserved areas. They only are going to come to underserved households to begin with anyway. So if you've already got Comcast or you have some other high-speed internet service, that's not the target of NEK CUD. It's the folks that don't have anything.
Or low service.
But you see my point? You say we're buying a seat at the table, basically. And when I read the article in Derby, it said, by them funding CUD, they moved into like the top seat. Within 2 years, they're gonna have this access.
It's only for a very small subset.
So
It's
if we were to set up this ARPA advisory committee, as you laid it out, David.
Mhm.
It's something we're gonna advertise, or we're just gonna sit back and if the select board or the town doesn't use the ARPA money funds as they see fit, say possibly for the fire district, maybe metering and a couple other projects. We're gonna advertise and let people come and request the funds. Is that what your thoughts are?
essentially, I think you'd have some sort of limited period where groups could come and make some sort of proposal to use the funds. We'd have to vet that all depending on the legality of all of it. But it depends what the proposal is, of course. And then what the impact is. It's just an opportunity to make it a little bit more open to the public in terms of decision making, but the final decision still rests with the select board. The ARPA committee exists really just to serve as a public advertisement in a sense, and a public place to bring a proposal to, rather than have you guys responsible for advertising it if you want or not if you don't.
So would ARPA money be available for us to say we're gonna remove the house next door and we're gonna make some kind of nice parking lot for the community center for all the residents of the town? Is ARPA money available to use for that type of project?
I think it probably is, yes.
It was generally.
I'd want to check to be sure, but that the thing you really can't use it for is retirement funding. There's a big no-no there, but
Spend $100,000 over here of that money, just making it better for everybody instead of one specific group.
Yeah, accepted.
improving the town community center, sure. I think that's probably, I'd want to check to be sure.
You're on the planning commission. What are your thoughts to what we are speaking about?
My thoughts are, the transparency is a good idea, having a committee, given that the final decision still lies with the select board at the end of the day. Having at least a group of folks vet the ideas and bring up the select board will, one, be good PR. I think that's going to be the major thing. And two, it'll probably, how many people will know about bringing in proposals otherwise? So there'll have to be some advertising that takes place on top of that too.
But do we need the proposals? Do we need the, I think the money would be spent wisely.
So here's my
is-
thought is you have the committee to say we only have three. We got the sidewalk, we've got CUD, and we've got the building. They can take care of doing all the research for the CUD and the sidewalk, and we don't have to do, they come to us with all the information already to say, this is the proposal, and here it is, instead of us sitting here in a meeting for 2 hours listening to it.
I think we're doing just the opposite. I think we're creating more agenda items.
I don't see.
No,
I guess my thought is,
Not an
I'll give you an
important
example,
thing.
how many people are going to your planning commission meetings?
Not much, that's my
See what I
point.
mean?
No, but
That's
that's
the
that could
problem.
be a double-edged sword too, right?
Yeah.
So what's the money gonna do in the general fund too? Do we have plans for that right now?
Well, we definitely are gonna be able to spend it for sure, between the church, possibly, between this building, possibly, between the sidewalk study. We might go overboard on the sidewalk study. We have enough money to do the sidewalk study, but we might not have enough money to do
Don't we
the.
still have like an additional 250K in just community development funds too?
So I think,
So
to
I don't
me-
think money is the issue here.
to me, the planning commission is well funded. Like I said, just about everybody is well funded except for the fire district. I guess that's just,
Do they have to be project-based or can the select board just make a decision?
I think David would know, but I think we took the money and received the money, the opera funds into the town in a way that we could spend it on just about anything but retirement.
Yeah, you need to make a definitive motion thing about how you're gonna spend it. So at this point, it's just sitting in its own fund line in NEMRA.
Right,
It is in the general fund, but it's not specifically spendable on anything at the moment.
because it's just, like, we haven't allocated it, that's the only reason why it's not spendable or anything,
Correct.
or, okay.
We kind of did allocate it to the general fund.
No, but then,
Well, it went into the general fund, so we didn't have to go through all the.
Yes.
In order to meet the accounting requirements of the federal government, I would need a little bit more than that.
Yes.
You know, it's better if it's a specific thing. You're gonna give 10K to put in water meters or 25K to put in water meters. You're gonna spend 100K on tearing down a building and putting up a parking lot.
so that would be the argument for the committee, because you can then have the committee take care of all of that stuff, like Bill was saying. And then,
I make it, all right, I'll make a motion that the Opera Funds Advisory Committee be set up as David Barlow spelled out.
Second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
Opposed.
Second. 2-1.
No whole. I don't know, we have to know who it is.
Yeah, I'd like to make that public record.
it does.
Either way, we didn't give up. the-
I'm fine either way. I really.
I am too.
I just kind of had my point of view. and I wanted to stick to it.
Right, I think it's easier if we don't do anything, just put it there, but I think we should hear the people.
But doesn't it have to be spent by a certain time?
We have
24.
We know there's an expiration date, yeah.
24, 26.
It's easy to spend.
And it's gonna be municipal, it's not
Yeah.
like people are gonna come
It's
in and
not
say,
personal
hey,
stuff.
I wanna, you know, I need a car. just for
Right, well, unless it's a minute, vehicle.
Matt needs a car.
All right, number 7 is a fiscal year 2022 budget review, also starring Dave Barlow.
Yeah, so if you want to share screen, this would be the point. If we don't want to, that's another thing, but
You should be good.
let's see. Oh, look at that. High tech. Okay, so FY 22 ended on 30 June 2022. This is how we ended up. I put everything, made some notes on the stuff that stood out as kind of needs a little bit of an explanation. On the revenue side, that really was only the annuity settlement that went into the miscellaneous category. That was that lawsuit that we were just party to because, and they sent us a big check, so thank you, and there it is. The money, cash itself actually went into our investment fund, as you told me to do back when. So revenue-wise, you can see we had a pretty good year, 107%, 108% roughly over what was budgeted. So moving on to expenditures, I made a note about the payroll budget was about 19K under, which is kind of important when you get down to the end. A lot of that was the fact that we weren't paying for a town administrator for a chunk of the time. I'm gonna do some fixing in payroll to make sure that the assessing clerk FICA thing shows up in the right category. Stop me if you get a buzz about anything in particular.
What
We
was,
spent quite a bit on,
it was 110, 3300-890. Is that in this section?
30, we're at 3,200, 3,300, 890.
Says they're
is
mostly
down.
expenditures.
Oh, okay, right there. I didn't understand miscellaneous expenditures. You had the journal entries. You had a budget number of $500 and you had journal entries of $14,781.
yeah, every time you you make an entry in NEMRIC and double line municipal accounting, you have to have a counter entry. So there's always, it's called double line entry. There's always two things that have to happen. So basically I didn't bother chasing down all the other individual accounts that the delinquent tax stuff hits, I did it like the accountant does it. He just hits miscellaneous expenditures. So I had to fill in some money on the accounts receivable delinquent tax side, and it just came out of miscellaneous expenditures. It would take me a while to chase that around all the other little accounts that it ends up in. I could do that if you want. But I took the example from the accountant and just did it the way he does it.
Okay.
I noticed over time that he makes multiple uses of miscellaneous funding and miscellaneous expenditures to account for what I call little ankle biters, just bits here and there that just need to be countered correctly. It doesn't make any difference to the bottom line. It's just a place to do it. Does that help, hurt?
Some,
Or-
I just don't quite understand, is it a real number? Or just,
Yeah, so I'm gonna flip the charts up here a minute.
Oh.
It is a kind of a real, it is a real number.
Yeah, I guess I don't have the accounts receivable on here. Accounts receivable are used to report amounts that are due to the town. So as you can imagine, delinquent taxes they fall into accounts receivable. And as we receive those monies over time, the account receivable line should be reduced. But we tend to only do that at the end of the year. When I say we, both myself and the auditor, that's kind of when we take care of that. You just wait till the end of the year, then you do it. I can look at a different way to do this if you want, and that's fine. It would take it out of that category and probably put it in about 3 others. Because we spend a lot of different funds on collecting delinquent taxes. There's legal expenses, there's interest expenses that come in, or interest revenue that comes in when taxes are paid. There's other things that happen. So, I mean, it's possible to do it differently, certainly.
I'll bring
Yeah,
it.
From a budgeting standpoint, we could just put a bigger budget number there, knowing we're going to do it this way. And at the end of the year, then it doesn't look like, hey, why are you wacko on the budget? But the good news in all this story is we're almost down to 0 on delinquent taxes. It's getting really, really to a small number, but. So if you want me to look at that differently, I can do that.
I'll just come in Friday and chat with you, and you can
Okay,
maybe explain it a different way, doesn't won't hold everybody up.
okay. Flip down to the next page. Here you can see some of the reserve funding that takes place in the movement of funds, the different articles. I'm kind of halfway through that at the moment. So half of it happened in FY22, and there's a couple more actions I need to take that'll be in FY23 to move money around per the articles that were in the town meeting. The ones that are in 22 are on this document. Thing to pull out of this, though, is the highlighted lines. Municipal expenditures, those I put in there as excluding the transfers. And when I say transfers, the money I've moved from the general fund into reserve funds as voted. What this municipal expenditure show is, what do we spend on the municipal side to run Coventry town government last year? Well, we spent $489,000 basically. And that was a bit under budget. If you remember from the payroll side, which was under budget, that's kind of where most of that comes from, or all of it, in fact, because we were a little bit over on some other things, but pretty much when you take away the payroll we didn't expend, we were pretty much on target. which leads to the next line, which is the good news story, which is excess revenues for FY '22, almost 1.3 million, 1,278,000. Which means that's what we're looking at dividing up when it comes time for the next town meeting. So what do you do with that? So if there's no questions, I'll move on.
Any questions on the budget review?
I'm good, Dave.
Well, there's a little bit more. There's Fund 150, which is the roads. And there's something kind of exciting happened in the legislature this year in that they finally said, okay, towns, you no longer have to segregate off road funds. Previously, we had to, if they were voted as road funds, they were always road funds. You had to keep those segregated. The legislature has done away with that. Now, that said, for us, it was never really that big an impact just because we're funded from landfill money. So we weren't raising taxes or lowering taxes based on whatever the road budget was and whatever was left over or we needed more. So it wasn't a huge impact. And I would propose we'll stay with a separate road budget and road fund. I don't see any reason to change.
What you're stating is the law just changed.
Yeah, the law changed.
The law changed and now instead of those road department funds being protected for only being spent on roads, now a government could possibly go in and take that money for school or anything else.
Well, not for school, no.
In a normal town.
Not even in a normal town. Education funds are off limits. That's not something you guys get to deal with.
You could use it for other things other
You
than
could use it for municipal.
General fund.
Wicked bad. That's a bad move.
for small towns.
Bad move for people on money. All of a sudden the roads are gonna get zero.
So, yeah, like I say, I think for us, it's really kind of minor or no impact. I don't really see it, but it's useful to know that has changed. The only thing that makes it's quite useful to us actually is in terms of budgeting. So I know I have on the agenda tonight to propose some budgeting changes, which I'm not prepared, so I'm going to suggest we table it. But what it means now is we could move budgeted numbers between the municipal and the road fund. So let's say, we have this kind of salary issue with the road commissioner salary that you guys told me to propose a budget change to fix. Well, now I don't have to just look within the road fund. I can look in the municipal side and say, okay, where do we have a little extra on the municipal side that we can just move to roads? Okay, so it becomes a benefit to the roads actually. And from a budgeting standpoint, it allows us a lot more flexibility.
Well, we aren't necessarily able to clean it out one way or the other. It's just,
No, it gives the treasurer a more of a tool.
yeah.
So did you have questions on the three that you brought up there, Dave? You had,
No, I just, they were just a little bit over, the percentages were high. I just point them out as what the big numbers were there. That caused the percentages to be higher. The bottom line of all this, when we get down to the bottom of roads somewhere, is you were just, I know I had announced earlier that you were right on budget, but you ended up just being a little bit over. There was some late in the year stuff that hit that took it a little bit over, but again.
I think too, you're also going to be seeing a credit of $2,100 from Temco.
Right. So there's stuff that hasn't hit yet. That's the other point that will hit previous fiscal year. That probably will bring that back. So again, that in terms of budget variance is really just a very small number when you look at the overall numbers. I have all the other funds on this budget review too. There's not a lot of interest there, I think, in terms of you're welcome to look through, and I would say, offline, ask me questions if there's a question. All the other funds we maintain are there. Reserve funds for the most part, but even the investment funds, cemetery funds, the schools EDP fund, which is under, where'd that go? Under the school fund. And you'll see for the first time on here, you're gonna see it again on my report for next month that I've got the new fund set up for the road capital expenses as well. So with that, if there's no questions, I will turn it back for the next agenda item.
Any questions?
No?
So Dave, did I hear you correctly? You want to table number 8 and go to number 9?
Yes, please. I apologize. I'm not really ready yet for the budget change part, and it's not that time pressing. So
So we'll be tabling the fiscal year 2023 budget changes and going to the July treasurer's report.
okay, I will attempt to share that as well. That's not it. There we are. Okay. All right, this will be a little quicker, I promise. Kind of a normal month. You can see on here, I talk about where I set up the roads infrastructure fund by taking 100,000 out of the roads capital equipment fund and set that up in the reserve fund section. That's what those $100,000 transfers are. Just moving money around there. Next month, you'll see me move some more money from the general fund into the roads capital equipment fund to fund that per the town meeting. On the general fund side, we had a big month for revenues. The Casella check came in and it was big numbers. So that's what most of that is. Apparently trash, there's quite a bit of trash flowing. Good news there. Or bad, depending on your perspective. On the expense side, there were two major expenses that account for a good chunk of that. One was the ambulance service bill, and if you have the report and you're curious, that shows up as a big check. Newport Ambulance Service, 36K. The other big one is the payment for getting the painting started on the meeting house. And that currently is showing up as a general fund expense because I haven't transferred it yet to the buildings and maintenance fund. You'll see that next month as a buildings and maintenance fund expense, but I needed to get the warrant through you guys first for that. So that was one of those, get the check out the door, get the guy going for the weather turns, and with Phil's approval, of course, and I think that the board knew about it, and now we're catching up. So you'll see that moved on the reserve fund side with August report. It was a better month for investment side, but still we're off for the year. And with that, if there's no questions, I'll turn it back to next agenda item.
Any questions?
No. Thank you, David.
Do we need a motion to accept that report? Treasurer's report, no?
No.
Okay, number 10 would be the approval of minutes from August 1st, 2022.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes from.
Hang on,
Yeah.
let's get eliciting gas before from the audience out of the meeting minutes.
What?
Get that one in there. I had as much support as I did,
That was pretty even.
yeah.
Pretty even supported you.
Oh, the dog.
You weren't here. so
No,
you don't know.
There's some support. I didn't read the minutes yet.
Where are we at on that anyway? Any ideas?
I haven't heard anything.
Oh, I didn't read that part of it.
I
Now I got it.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
haven't
ask,
heard anything from
can you
her.
find out how the dog's doing? What's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah.
Find it at home?
Usually Deb's gives me updates, but I should. Must be nobody's bugging her.
No, 13
Probably
bucks
got
a day,
PTSD.
keeping it forever.
He truly asked. that.
That'll be
That's
our
why-
$4,000 dog.
47.45.
Was that how much it cost for a year? You did the math? Did you? 365, 30? You did it?
You want to set up a GoFundMe?
No,
You want to put it in the, you want a shop dog?
I'm good.
You could be saving it down.
I've cried enough, killing pets. I'm getting more of that.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes from Monday, August 1st.
With the omission of. the-
Oh, removing the illicit thing.
What's the illicit thing? You mean the dog?
Right here.
David Gallup asked if the dogs could be treated, yeah.
Oh, with the removal, you did ask that though.
Right,
It's
Jokingly,
just
sorry.
accurate reporting.
Okay,
Yes, it is.
we can take that out.
I'm reading that.
I heard it, funny.
Did somebody second that?
It's gotta be done. I can't.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
you
that's
did.
right.
All those in favor? Aye.
Yeah, go. Okay,
You guys abstain, I don't think if you want.
So you gotta check in about the dog,
yeah,
so we'll know at next meeting.
so we
like-
know that it's not, we're not still paying for it.
Well, I think we still are, but we need to know, like, at the next meeting, we'll have to put a timeline probably.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so under other business, we've got a Coventry Fire District invoice here. So you wanna,
This is coming from Baroche's Fire. Fire district was billing the city for the water use for the fire. And it just does a roundabout circle, so. I think we pretty much just need to say we're gonna pay this. And then coming down the road, I think we need to have discussions on how this is gonna work, because there's nothing in the contract about water supply for the city. That they provide water supply or they pay that expense, and there's nothing on we do it, so it's something I think we need to work out with the fire district.
$1,700.
Yeah.
So
It's,
can we submit this to the Rushie's insurance?
He was supposed to do that, I don't know if that's actually happened.
So we need, to before we agree to pay this, we
I
need
think
to make sure.
John has asked him. I haven't talked to him myself to find out if that actually happened.
Because I talked to a couple different people who, not in this state, but primarily like this is paid by the insurance
In
company.
my opinion, it should be.
This
but-
is part of the damage. This
Yeah.
was a damage. This is part of the expense. You know,
so it was previously, it's not a new experience, we went through.
No, the way it's,
already.
the way it's happened is it
Property, yeah,
goes,
yeah.
the city. Has paid paid it with their check before, and then they just send us the invoice for us to pay the city back,
And
which
this is-
doesn't make
this
sense.
should go to DeRushy. I honestly feel the homeowner is responsible for the.
Well, I think
water.
that's where, and even the same thing with some of these, we get invoices from the city for for calls. Some of these things should be sent to the insurance companies, accidents, some fires, it should be sent to it, in my opinion, as a
I mean, if a town resident fell down on.
Different if it's a
on his
town.
lawn, on his lawn, they're not gonna come
Different
after
to-
the town, they're
yeah.
gonna go after his insurance, so. I would
But in
think-
that case, that's a different thing, but car accidents is the big one, like if somebody's not from this area, why should the taxpayers have to pay that expense? It's like, we should be, as a town, be able to go out and say, this is the invoice we got from the fire department for that, so.
So
it's
again,
just
that's
something
something that's not new to us, because we knew.
No, it isn't.
Because we knew Newport bills. Newport Fire Department bills.
They don't bill the insurance company.
Yeah, they're,
I thought they did.
we pay that.
They send us
I
the,
thought-
we
I
get,
meant
a no,
In Newport,
well, in Newport, but yes,
yeah.
in
so-
Newport they would, but nothing that our stuff is, they leave that to us to figure.
So do they have a policy that pertains to?
I'll have to ask John. I honestly think it might be only on, the way I remember when Jamie was doing.
We
it
could-
was hazmat stuff.
The town actually could get a bill from the fire department. How much did the whole
We
thing
do,
cost?
we do always go, huh?
No, give us a bill for the, how much the breakdown? So we pay the fire department
I have
$50,000
that
a year was that one fire a $5,000 fire plus
Probably.
1,700 water? Let's bill the insurance company $6,700, not just for the water, we have to pay.
But, so that's where I think we need to relook at that emergency services policy. And come up with this.
Some towns have it figured out, we just need to contact the town that has it figured out.
Yeah.
Right? Call some bigger towns, they must have,
But I think for now, we probably pay that, because it's been since January, the district hasn't had that income. And then we can take care of working with the insurance company to,
the fire district, we to pay this too.
that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, it has to get paid one way or the
Yeah.
other, but I think we need to,
Then
And then we can go forward, work on,
But I-
have Matt work with. come
can
up
you work with the town of Newport to get us a bill for the amount of the?
I
fire?
have one somewhere, I've got the
And
whole.
let's attach it with this and let's submit one, let's call DeRushy and ask him for his insurance information on the house.
Yeah.
Tell him we got a bill for the fire.
Yeah.
We want to send it to somebody, because I'm sure he got compensated.
So, okay, so this is, that's where I was going back on. See, then that comes into that. Taxpayers are already paying for the fire service. So that type of thing, I don't know if I have
No,
mixed feelings
it
on
just goes
charging,
back in-
going to the insurance.
It
for
just goes back into the general budget, because if you didn't have the fire, our rolling average would go down. Our rolling average will go down the amount of this fire. So this was the fire was an expense to the town, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Bill the whole thing, put it back into the fund. Because our rate's gonna go up $5,000. When we do a 3-year rolling average, we're gonna pay more because
Yeah.
his thing burned.
Yeah.
So we'll need the money in the general fund. I would definitely bill the whole thing. They may stamp it back and say, sorry, but probably not.
So what do we want to do here with this bill?
Hey,
I make a motion that we pay the fire district for the DeRushy fire bill in the amount of $1,700 that's past due.
And do you want to add seek reimbursement
Yes,
from his insurance,
seek reimbursement from DeRushy for his insurance company
just from his
for
insurance?
the amount of the total fire.
No, just the 1,700.
No, the whole thing, the whole thing.
And we have a note, is there a number for that?
no, but I can get it.
Okay. All right, there's a motion.
You either have the bill already somewhere that.
I don't think,
Or I have it.
hang on a second, I don't think you should do the whole fire.
I don't
because-
think so either.
Because the town's already paid.
Yeah.
that. Even though he's in district, the whole town is paid for the fire service, but not the water.
Right,
Only the people in the village are gonna get charged for the water.
But why don't we see if the insurance company will pay for the fire? That money will go back into the general fund
we would have to do that for every
fire.
fire, but then you also run taxpayer rates up on insurance then.
I just don't want to offend real at this point.
No, I'm not trying to
No,
make
no,
anybody
yeah.
mad. I'm just wondering,
I agree with
So,
him on
why
just
don't we-
doing the water.
why don't you call Brian Monahan? Call
You
him.
could also talk to the city and find out what they do, because I don't think fires like that in the city get billed to insurance. I think it's gonna be more or less accidents that,
Well, we should know that stuff.
but that's the
We
thing,
should,
like,
like-
that has not been, ever been clear.
There's a cost to the oil containment. right?
Yep, hazmat came up, and that's what that
That's where it
can
was.
be, that's where Jamie always said that he would send a bill and that we should be able to get reimbursement on hazmat.
I guess let's get clarity on it. So let's make a motion that we're gonna pay for the water and we're gonna look
Look into the
into
rest of it.
if we're able legally
Yeah.
to recoup the money of the cost of the fire.
As the state,
Okay, so the motion is to pay the 1,700. You're seconding that?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
I'll also talk with the state hazmat chief to find out, because state, as long as you go through the right channels, Derby Line brings a trailer down, which is what happened, they bring guys and put booms out and does all the hazmat stuff, and the state replenishes that. So I'll talk with Patrick.
Yeah, all we need to know is the chain of command, how all that works, and then I'm sure it's a simple, standard format.
Yep.
Maybe the town does have to pay for the water, maybe not, though, I wouldn't think so. We're not trying to save our anything that belongs to us, it's service.
Any other business? Okay, we'll go on to the warrants. We got, Phil's got them there. And we have a contracts for Fall Festival that Scott has already signed. And then we have a heating oil pre-buy bid. Oil supply.
Propane and gas, or just oil?
Just number two fuel. And Fred's price was $4.25, so these guys are a lot cheaper.
Wow, 357. That's who we have now. anyway.
That's who we currently
Yeah.
with.
We need a motion.
If you want to
I
accept
think-
it, you do.
Yeah,
I make a motion that we accept the oil supply pre-bid contract for 22-23 season at $3.57 per gallon for number two. Starting October 1st, 2022 through April 30th, 2023. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do we get a price on gas? Do we burn gas? We don't burn much gas.
propane is the generator.
Just the generators.
All right,
Actually, what's the
Did you
what's the
say
school
that's-
generator?
I thought of that under your, nobody really pays attention to what goes on with that generator up there. That is under our emergency shelter.
Yeah,
That's a
and
reason.
it is us paying for the maintenance on it, so.
it was like 3 or 4 years. We
Is
did
it?
a bunch of weed service. I haven't heard anything about it in a
Is
couple
there
of
any
years.
maintenance being done on it, do you know?
Oh, what?
Just general
The,
maintenance. on
the
it.
generator over at the school.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
I
I
don't
don't know.
think-
I think it's on the schedule to be yearly done, but.
I know D&D does
We keep
our
all
little
of them.
Do you think you could go over to the school and look at the date last time it was serviced, if there's a tap?
Talk
on?
to,
I'll call
Well,
Jess.
yeah,
Call
call,
Jess.
call Jess, but
Find
I
out.
think, I actually, so if I remember, I think Jess, they actually call us.
Do we have
to
one here too?
Schedule the meeting, so maybe check with
Just a
you,
little
whoever
interior,
does our generator maintenance, cause I remember that,
just a little-
maybe not last year, but the year
Do you wanna-
before, I
do
think
you wanna
it
check the
ended
date
up
on this one
happening.
and the one at the garage, or you guys?
I know they do them yearly.
Okay.
They come in the fall, D&D electric.
They do
Okay,
all-
so I would,
I know they do these two, where they do the oil change.
I remember him going over there, because it hadn't gotten done, and I think it wasn't on a schedule, but. thought it
I think
was
we
on
had-
the
Want me to call Jason?
schedule.
I
Yeah,
think we put a bunch of money in
D&D,
that
is that
thing.
it? Jason,
Jason Blatter.
yeah,
We put a bunch of money in a few years ago, and then I
Yeah.
haven't heard anything since, so. It's probably on a regular, I think we did get it on a schedule, but
He's Jason's pretty good, so.
Yeah. Is this what you were talking about?
the $140 one,
No, there's no, I didn't find a $140 one, this was a $35,000 one,
that's not the one.
that's the painting one.
No, no, that wasn't it. It was one like this, is a list of the checks, right? And the
A
total.
long
is-
one?
The total is $7,034, and there's a line across that she hand wrote 6,800 and something on. And I was just wondering, did the $140 check get held out? I was just wondering why it was that way.
that wasn't something new and great about it, was it?
No, it was on one of these pages like this. It wasn't on the check.
That wasn't today, or what she sent?
Yeah, it was in the, I saw it on the email. It's got a handwritten number. You know how the payroll is all at the bottom? There's a payroll thing, and it's usually printed out. Well, she hand wrote. and
This was
then-
on the warrant itself.
Yeah. Right there. See the red line note? See that?
Oh, right here.
Yeah, what's the 140? Did you leave the top check out? What is it?
It's Anita's.
The Anita's thing. Did we not do it? That's the only thing I had a question.
Yeah, I don't think that warning was there. But you wanted to take that off, I don't think it's a testing amount as well.
Mr. Barlow. You did payroll. For
Yeah, you can sign this one.
July 30th, there's a payroll warrant with Anita on it.
Like,
That-
all that is, children, hopefully, on this, warning,
It's checked off, but hers is not checked off.
You guys review these.
I would have not have reviewed, I would not have,
So she's not, she's paid directly with a check, not through the bank EFT system.
So that's probably what, that's what the check marks are. She's checking off that she did the EFT. And the check is not in here because that
Electric
they was sent it off.
Electronically, okay.
She took the check out.
Well, the check stub should be there.
See it.
She took the whole thing off. That's probably why we don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see a stub in this one. Oh, I haven't signed anything yet. I'll make a motion to accept the warrants as they are.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we do have an executive session tonight. I'm gonna need somebody to read that top one before we. Personnel one, just a little one.
I move to find that premature, no, we should finish these first.
Yeah.
I haven't signed anyone yet, so. Just keep signing.
They must be like, really, guys, you can't keep them going. You can destroy the whole package.
You gonna take it over?
Dave, make sure you sign them all too, because you usually let you forget.
Yeah.
a couple of them.
I just, I know it probably doesn't work out for Devin, but if I had them like on Friday, but you had that time to review.
Yeah, I know.
When you get them Monday during the work day.
That's why I come in early and look for them. Is there a picture?
About 4 o'clock, I was looking. I thought I gotta do my weekly, because you don't have time during the meeting, unless you want to be here all night.
I'll see if I can round out the people around.
We need 6 figures, I mean, that's it.
Well, yeah, upgraded pens, huh? They actually do try, yeah, I'm thinking it's pretty sexy.
I see the credit card though. Crazy.
Yeah, that was pretty. Election stuff.
The tabulator was good though. What did we send back? We had to send something back. Deb would know. Some postage, something to do with the election stuff. We mailed something back, 20 something bucks. Something was wrong. It was in the warrant.
Sure.
I don't know what it was. 20 bucks to send something back. You don't know what it was?
Must have been bigger. Ballots. Neither one of you guys signed this one.
You didn't hand it to us.
Right.
I handed it to David.
I'm at the end of the table. man.
Was there a check in that folder, Phil?
No.
No, that's all she got for you.
No, in this warrants that you just.
Oh, yes,
Oh.
for the gravings, yes, there is.
Yeah.
It's in there.
Yep.
But the checks aren't signed. Barlow has to sign them.
Oh,
Mr.
okay,
Barlow has
because
to
she
sign
had
them.
said I would be here, I could take the check with me, but I don't want another front check.
No, you don't, you want.
I don't think it is. No,
None of these are signed.
She probably thought Dave was gonna be here. He had some stuff to do, so.
Turn that page.
when can you come in and sign checks, David?
Friday.
Friday.
I don't know, that was me, that was David.
I'll probably actually be in tomorrow.
Okay, so there's one for John Kemet to sign. That has
Okay.
been out for 2 or 3 months. I slack on that one a little bit too.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll be in tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. So, there.
You can either come grab it or pop it in the mail.
We're gonna kick off with that, right?
Yep. I move to find that premature public knowledge, general public knowledge regarding the town's legal strategy with certain contract matters would clearly place the town at a substantial disadvantage because the select board risks disclosing its negotiating strategy if it discusses the strategy in public. Jesus, bro. I move that we, and, so that has to be one, and then we have to do another one, don't we? Yeah, we have to do 2 motions for this.
It's 2 motions.
Okay, so that first one. I move that we find premature public knowledge
Second. We
All
got
in favor?
Oh, yeah,
And I move that we enter into executive session to discuss confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services to the body under the provision of Title I, Section 313A1F of the Vermont statutes.
included in the executive session would be David Barlow, myself, David Gallup, Phil, and Matt Maxwell.
second.
Aye.
Aye.
Adios.
You guys have a good night.
All right, take
By the
care.
way, break, if you ever wanna work as an auctioneer, I think you got a career there.
Yeah, no. We're exiting executive session at 7:52. No action taken.
Correct. I make a motion that we pay,
We have, yeah,
pay Sansucci's bill in the amount of $1,875.
So moved.
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
One more thing to do.
Adjourn.
Awesome.
Adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Aye.
Aye.
7:50.
All right, we got one of them down.
You're
We'll,
using them
we'll hammer the
back
other one next week or
I was,
two.
wasn't I?
Yes, you were.
We may
If
not.
that's the clock you've
we may
been
not
using the
use
whole
it.
night, then that's
If
fine.
we can get away with
No,
not
I don't-
using
I've
it,
not been using
not
this
spend, like, I think
Hold up.
I think we do it. Yeah, we do it.
Hold up.